This is the market update. I am your host, Bill Noble. We are live. Welcome to the biggest crypto debacle in history. I will help you sort this out. Two notes. When you have a market that's this far gone on the downside, it's an indication that there was no large bidder below the market. So the fact that Michael Saylor and Metaplanet essentially ran out of money, stopped buying, disallowed probably mechanized hedge funds to attack once it turned. And I'm sure they had the heads up because they did it after the stock market close. Now, crypto, the decline is likely exacerbated. Crypto always goes first. So I get the sense, this is my first pass, and by the way, we're going to have to work all of this out on the air. I do have a list of top altcoins that are, I think, are obvious buys on a catastrophic dip like this, but we'll go into that. But from a TA point of view, we're going to have to just work it out live. Now, one thing that I had discussed was that when you have a market that's on the verge of a huge rally, you usually have total despair, depression, and they get everyone out before the huge move. Now, of course, a 30% drop or more in one day or gigantic wicks lower was obviously not on my bingo card. However, if you can take a step back and think about who's long now, like, who's long? Like, remember I was talking about patiently waiting? Well, I don't know. Those people may have panicked, or those people may be on the verge of panic, and certainly everybody who was levered is out. Roadmaps that will have to be adjusted had the low on the 14th. Naturally, that was well above current prices, but not that much farther above current prices. All right. That's point number one. Now let's just go through what I understand actually happened today. So the Chinese probably told the Orange Man that they were going to pull rare earth metals. We are running all over the planet. Everyone is running all over the planet to get away from the Chinese supply chain on rare earth metals. Kind of interesting that that's happened with, I don't know, trade war light. So the Chinese are probably taking exception to that. And I do think that when they act like this, when they do this like kind of port fees, and the tariffs must be hurting them, one. Two, their economy must be on the verge of a major problem. To me, this smells like some kind of desperate lashing out. You have incredible stress in the Japanese markets. The Chinese must be experiencing extreme stress because they lashed out at us when the government shutdown was happening, right? So we're vulnerable. And this, the shutdown that is, could have resulted in a problem with the banks or a problem somewhere else, because ironically, Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, told you last night that, the Treasury is ready to take extraordinary measures to ensure that the markets remain orderly. And I looked at that. I mean, that was this morning. We talked about it on the market update. I was like, what is that about? I was like, well, that's probably about a problem with the banks as an unintended consequence of the shutdown. And it turns out the Chinese just kind of punched us in the face. So they're in trouble. I think they are in massive trouble. I mean, when you look at this, when the Orange Man was caught off guard by the level of hostility, they have to be in trouble, right? And we know the Japanese are in trouble, right? They're kind of turning themselves into a clown show with this idea of the solution to print more money is to print more money. And if you introduce this kind of shock, that's how you get the decline in crypto. Now, that said, it is stark raving unbelievable. One, how far crypto went down. That's market makers and that's guys running stops. But hold on a second. Hold on a second. You have sovereigns in trouble. You have social disorder in the United States. To me, this effectively looks like kind of an economic WW3 if it goes into play. And again, if you have China and Japan cratering and a problem with our banks, this brings in emergency Fed cuts, which I had talked about. I know I didn't think we were going to get an emergency Fed cut because Bitcoin was going to go to 109. Again, not on the bingo card. However, sovereigns are in worse shape than we thought. That's the bottom line. This is obviously going to have some kind of ripple effect. The Treasury's coming in. The Fed's coming in. I think the Bank of Japan is going to have to come in. I mean, they're going to have to come in huge to save their financial system, assuming it can be saved. The Fed may have to come in to save the whole world. Now, if that's the case, they're effectively going to be admitting that the emperor has no clothes. This could be the legacy moment where we go, yeah, sorry, guys. I'm sorry that the whole thing is phony baloney, but we'll cut rates, print. I mean, this got to be immediate high-powered money in the system. I mean, they got to do high-powered money starting Sunday night because, you know, they did this to equities and everyone's going to sit around and go, what does this mean? Now, in stonks, they're going to realize that this rosy picture that they had where AI data center construction was going to hold up the entire market, yeah, that's kind of over. They're going to have to get real about what this means. This is going to hurt GDP growth. And I think, going back to the idea of emergency Fed cuts, the first tariff tantrum in April, capital markets got fixed, but the job market didn't. I remember when that first came out, CEOs came out and said, well, you know, we're not going to hire anybody. We're not going to open anything. We're not going to build anything because these guys have introduced a level of uncertainty. Well, now you have level of uncertainty part 2 on steroids. Job market is done. Job market was done before this. Now it's really done. You could be talking about mass layoffs. And again, the Fed can't wait. The Fed can absolutely not wait. Absolutely not wait. So we are all tripping over ourselves to sell Bitcoin down to 109. And this to me feels like a good old-fashioned stop fishing exercise because the case for crypto was unbelievably compelling to begin with. Relative valuation versus equities. You know, just the total chaos that was occurring in fiat at the time. Like, this makes it worse. Now, I don't know if you wake up and there's a panic bid for the dollar, but now you know what the rally in gold was about. Now you know what it was about. Chinese loading up right before they drop this on everyone's head. Now you know. And in some ways, now that you know, and now that you know that, again, you know, Besant told you, he told you, this is not, oh, yeah, you know, Bill's making up stuff. He told you emergency measures were coming in. So I know that that's a little bit long-winded, and I know you want me to get to what does it mean to crypto, but I think what it means to crypto is you're seeing emergency action by central banks and a monster flood of liquidity because this whole thing about inflation, yeah, okay, whatever. There's 100% tariffs on Chinese goods, but it pales in comparison to the shock that you could have because I think the talk over this will be more scary than if it goes into effect. Like the first thing that equities will do is say it won't go into effect. That's probably up to the Chinese communists who, again, are desperate. That I think that's my segue to crypto. Something is going on over there that made them desperate, that made them play this rare earth metal card they're getting hurt bad. And that's got to mean they were on the verge of cratering or some kind of social disorder, because all the Chinese care about is keeping China together in one piece. And if they went with the nuclear option, the global economy is in way worse shape than anyone thinks it is, hence the gold and silver rally. So this brings me to crypto. Now, you just marked altcoins down 40%, which is unbelievable. You marked Bitcoin down to 109 and back down to 115. Binance is supposedly like liquidating ETH like it's FTX. And it looks like you're going to push out every leveraged long. And everyone is panicking. Now, I will go on the flip side and just tell you that the only thing I've ever seen that looks like this was the flash crash from equities in 2010. Okay, back then, you had this 5% down move out of nowhere, and that turned out to be generally unhealthy for the market over the next 2 weeks. We'll look at the chart for the sake of looking at that chart, but I keep looking at this and I go, oh, this has got to be high-powered money. This is it. This is how you purge the entire system. No one's long. No one has any money to come in. That's it, right? Everybody is either bearish, depressed, or trapped, as unpleasant as that is. And once everybody gets bearish, depressed, and trapped and selling upticks, this is when big players come in and start the giant moonshot, because no one is in now. Everyone is out except the hodlers. And guys like Michael Saylor and Metaplanet, they could be in trouble. I don't know that, but everyone who's bullish just got smoked, which is exactly the type of conditions that you need. Like I say, you want new growth? You want a beautiful green forest? Okay, well, you know what? The old one burns down and the new one grows up out of the ash. Like the new era of crypto starts today. They burned it all down, and then you can open up the newspaper tomorrow and you go, Sovereign 1, Sovereign 2, Sovereign 3, banks, everything. It could crater all of it in legacy. Now, of course, they took it out on crypto because they always take it out on crypto. They always do. That is completely the wrong trade. As I always say, the first trade is always wrong. The first trade to sell crypto is wrong, right? And I guess the reason crypto is panicking is because they were probably afraid of what's going to happen in stonks on Sunday night in Asia and then on Monday in equities. But as Toby will tell you, we're going to be doing a VIP live stream in the morning. There's a decoupling effect happening, and you're about to see it. The worst crash ever in crypto. Equities are going to do what they need to do, and then everyone in the world is going to look at each other and goes, well, everybody got long gold and silver, and I don't know if they got flushed out. I haven't even looked yet. We are literally going to have to figure this out live on the air. But stonks are going to go down, and they may or may not come back, and crypto is going to come screaming back because no one is long. No one is long now. There's no seller. There's no levered long. Nothing. Binance is supposedly dumping ETH with reckless abandon. By the way, AIntivirus held like a champ. AIntivirus never went down. AIntivirus never participated in the privacy trade where everything went up. Zcash is actually respectable after doing kind of a blow off yesterday. Hey, now maybe you even know what the privacy thing was about. Maybe they're going to have capital controls out of China because everyone's going to be worried over there. The government's going to be worried over there that money is going to flood out massively. Again, somebody over there is panicking because it's worse than anyone thinks. Hence the gold, hence the silver bid, hence the privacy bid out of nowhere. I mean, Dash was going up in 20 and 40% increments. I never understood I like Dash, right? But they mine it in Venezuela. So, you have a lot of organic selling in that market. That's got to be the Chinese. They got money out any way they could with privacy coins because something is going on over there that is way worse than anyone thinks, right? Everyone's like, oh, the market's down. Oh, stocks are down. Oh, my portfolio's down. Whoa, 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 whoa. What is going on over there is way bigger than your portfolio's down, and it's going to make your portfolio go back up again. because technology and stocks just got a rude awakening on valuations. They just marked everything down in crypto 40%, just stark raving, unbelievable. I think Avalanche made a new wick for the move down over the last 10 months. Polkadot went below $1. I mean, there's crazy prints. Crazy. There's no way this sticks in crypto when the dust settles. People are going to come in and go, oh, wait a minute, we need the decentralized world, because literally this is a signal that everything is falling apart. I mean, even if you look at the Orange Man's tweets, he's like, wow, Chinese just got super hostile. What's up with that? Yeah, we know what's up with that. Bessett knew what was up with that last night, which is why central bank response and the bid that comes in with Bitcoin and Ethereum could be absolutely epic. Okay. So first of all, Stumbledore, thank you for the $5 super chat. We appreciate you. Ave Medina says, wait or buy now. I say buy now. I say buy now. I mean, we're going to go over both sides of the coin. But I mean, I think the mother of all charts, right? Like the one chart market update is this. So here's the ETH. You had your alligator mouth formation. You know, you had ETH up here at the premium zone, which is a little inconvenient to be bullish because nothing ever goes through its premium zone. ETH wicks down to the bottom of the alligator mouth formation and then comes back up here and is holding the support that LuxAlgo drew right there. What's the problem? There's no problem. This is fine. This is, if anything, this is juicy. I mean, you know, you missed the entire rally up in ETH. And again, we're just going to be like, you know, figuring this out. I mean, literally, this is going to be live TA. I could not get everything together. You know, it's like I work overnight. King's like calling me up, like waking me up. He's like, dude, it's just got wrecked. I mean, you have a normal 38% retracement in ETH. The end of the world is a 38% retracement in ETH. If you didn't know what this was about, you'd be like, oh, okay, that's nice. You got 38% retracement. Now, you know, this thing, you know, and Bitcoin, let me see if Bitcoin's the same thing. Yeah. 38% retracement. I mean, a 38% retracement is like, I don't know, man. It's like vanilla ice cream with no sprinkles. It's the most plain Jane form. Like it's the most plain Jane technical analysis correction. Now, of course, this looks like the end of the world because everybody who was involved here in Bitcoin, including Michael Saylor and Metaplanet, you know, they just started taking some heat. By the way, Zcash up 11%. Can't stop it. Can't stop it. You know, Zcash on a 4-hour chart. Luckily, I published the Zcash. No, by the way, I published this new Zcash roadmap last night. You know, there were 3 scenarios: baseline, banana zone, and insane. I'm going to use them as like support, pivot, and resistance. You know, they took Zcash down to equilibrium on a 4-hour chart. Comes straight back. Someone wants this. I mean, you can just start making up upside targets. You can make up whatever you want. I think there's a short video where Zcash won like a Toby showdown with XRP, and XRP had unbelievable, had like an unbelievable reading. So Dash and Zcash are up. That has got to be Chinese capital trying to escape. There's got to be. Right. And of course, you have like the New York City thing in November. Right. So, I mean, you have systemic stress any way you cut this. And if Besson says we're coming in to do emergency measures, that's got to mean the Fed is with him. The Fed just can't come out and say it because, you know, they're on the wrong end of life. So if they say they're coming in to stop this from getting out of hand, they're coming in huge. Huge. So I'm not sure what, I mean, I understand people are upset. I get it. But I mean, the Bitcoin on a 4-hour chart, when was the last time you saw Bitcoin at its discount zone? Bitcoin went to the discount zone. I mean, I'm sure nothing traded down there. And, you can have intense gymnastics, but I mean, you're going to see the Fed. You're going to see the Fed. And when people figure out what's really going on in legacy, again, this guy, Just Dario, was saying, you have a government shutdown and that leads to a problem with the banks. That was before this happened. And that guy's not stupid, right? He's also calling out phony baloney, stuff going on where, NVIDIA invests in OpenAI so OpenAI can turn around and spend the money with NVIDIA on chips. I mean, you can get away with that kind of stuff until you have systemic stress. Then you can't get away with it anymore. Okay. So, if you want to get real, I mean, if you want to talk about a flash crash, oh my God. So I saw this in 2010, right? This was like 3 months of up only. And in stonks, they wiped it all out in a day. They wiped it all out. This was the flash crash of 2010. There was a bounce. And then when it didn't bounce, when the bounce didn't hold, when it was a failed rally, then it turned into a mess. However, that mess turned out to be, like the mother of all lows. Like, I don't know if that, yeah, they did go back. They went back to it in 2010 and 2011. But, after these things are over, it goes up only. But that was the flash crash of 2010, which is the only thing I've ever seen that looks like this. Now, my conclusion, if you zoom back in on this, it's kind of very simple. They'll wick it down and there'll be a rally. And if the rally holds, then it's fine. And if the rally doesn't hold, then you have a much broader problem with risk assets. That's it. I mean, it's a question of, will there be a failed rally? Now you know what the move in silver is. I mean, we're going to go through all the news. We're going to go through all the TA. But like, as far as like the initial reaction, right? I mean, the flash event in equities, I think from 2010, as I'm working this out in my head, that example probably applies more to them than to us, to crypto. In other words, they'll go down, they'll buy the dip. And then if it holds, great. And if it doesn't, their stuff's going to go down more. But they just sold crypto. Like, this is the difference between then and now. You have a completely different macro regime. Completely different. And back then, Bernanke printed to stop the decline. I mean, they came in when it got bad enough and they just flooded the market, which is why eventually when it settled down, it went up only. And there's no way they can sit around and let this happen and have the orange man get embarrassed. Because Powell should be coming to the conclusion on this all by his lonesome, that you cannot have the system come unglued. You can't. They'll probably have the government open on Monday. Right? Because the Chinese punched us right where it hurt the most. Now, again, when you have this level of stress at the sovereign level, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, XRP, and Zcash. Zcash is already leading the market out of the hole. Zcash is the leader of the market. Zcash is king. And if Zcash is fine, the market will eventually. Zcash is already at 15%. Zcash is going to go to 500. Boom. There's no reason why Zcash can't go to 1,000 or 3,000 a longer term. Like, because, like I said, privacy is here. Antivirus, okay, it didn't go up, but it also didn't go down. You got Janice on a big podcast this morning talking about what actually happened to McAfee. And, you have a privacy coin. Something held. Privacy held. Now, you not only have a micro narrative, as Janice on a podcast recently talking about, how McAfee acted once they heard his dog. It's the real John Wick story. It's absolutely unbelievable. I mean, the antivirus token could be the negative beta play where everything else slumps and somebody comes in and realizes that, hey, this is the ultimate privacy play. Now, part of the reason, again, why Dash and Zcash are screaming is, I know I said this 3 times already, that's got to be capital flooding out of China because they're also doing export controls. In other words, the Chinese Communist Party is coming in to control everything. And if capital flight starts out of Hong Kong or China, obviously we knew something was happening. Gold, silver, privacy, everybody out of China. Because something is obviously wrong because they pulled the nuclear option. Because that's why even the orange man, I don't know if I have the tweet. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Here it is. See, this is how you know you're going to see the Fed. It has just been learned that China has taken an extraordinarily aggressive position on trade, sending an extremely hostile letter to the world, stating that they were going to impose large-scale export controls on everything they make, which includes rare earth metals. Okay. So no one told the orange man about it. They control 70% of all the rare earth metals. Okay. So I think that pretty much clears up, the macro end of that. Let's go to the top altcoins that we want to grab as a result of this. So, it starts off with the obvious, like I said. It's Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and XRP, particularly XRP. XRP was a top favorite of Toby's from the last show. XRP never went up. XRP was way below where it was supposed to be. Now XRP is trading at, XRP should be at 331. It's trading at 231. Can't believe if there's a problem with the banks that any stablecoin company or any method of payment, would get sold like this. But okay, whatever. The market did what it did, and this feels like, again, the final purge. It's the final purge of the 10-month bear market. So then the next round is Chainlink, okay, Render, Toncoin, Arweave, and Uniswap. Okay, ETH DeFi. Near is another one along with Hedera. So Algorand, Hedera, and Near made the list from the Gann model. Again, if there's stress in the system, the first thing that they have to do, or one of the first things that they have to do, is they have to get the Clarity Act done. I think this guarantees the Clarity Act because they're all going to need the stable coins and the debt. So the Made in America cryptos have to come back into play, right? And then, the layer ones, the rails of the system. Near was going up before this happened. Sui got absolutely mangled. And then, there's another layer one that I can't give you. That's a favorite of Toby's. That's a dark horse. We'll have to talk about that on the show. But the Gann model has been on like Pendle, Akash, Arweave down 40%. Like if you weren't long Arweave, now would be the time to get long Arweave according to the Gann model, not investment advice. Chainlink should be at 100. It's currently at 18. So, I mean, yeah, they may spend, I don't know, maybe they'll panic today. And then over the weekend, somebody in crypto, somebody in the world is going to be like, oh my God, we have to buy this. We have to buy this. And I think the other thing that you really have to focus on, and Toby's been talking about it, is we're going to stress test legacy. This brings in the idea of real world assets and having that transition from some theoretical BS thing that everyone just talks about to something that actually happens. Because, there are components of legacy without going into a complete geek out. There are components of legacy where there's absolutely no liquidity. Private equity, certain types of like junk loans, subprime. You can name huge categories in equities where there was no liquidity going into this, frankly includes treasuries, tokenization of assets is going to get freaking real after this. And don't forget, if there's a problem with the banks, there are multiple lenders in crypto: Goldfinch, Clearpool, right? Checks, Chintai, right? There are all these lenders. The idea of DeFi, which is why the model is picking, Uniswap and things like that. That's why they're picking stuff like that. Because that's what comes back quickest, especially if the chart looks good on ETH. Now, speaking of the chart, I know you want to look at the chart, so we'll look at the DeMark charts. We'll see what we got. I don't know, man. It's like, see what we can uncover here. So here's Bitcoin on a daily chart. That seems very interesting that they just completely went below. Like this is like the biggest stop fishing exercise. I don't know. And I don't know how long. But the main point in Bitcoin that has to hold to me is 112.6. That's what has to hold. I don't know. ETH is so funny, right? Like, this was where the give up trade started from in January, and ETH just does this like, I don't know who could have predicted this, right? A, B, C. I mean, if you take the emotion out of it, a lot of this looks like simple TA. You have this, I mean, nobody could have predicted this in XRP, but you have this A, B, C. And the thing that's unbelievable about XRP, with this wick is they wiped everyone out. They wiped out part of the election trade. And I don't know, this is not the best system for this, but I mean, let's go back over here and look at XRP relative to how much they washed out from the election trade. So, I mean, yeah, you can't assume that anything traded down here. You have to assume that these prints are kind of stupid. Let's look at it like a 2-day chart, maybe higher time frame. So I think looking at the Fibonacci circle analysis, the level in XRP that needs to kind of hold is 246. That's like the level. But I kind of already know, I kind of already suspect what I'm going to get here. When you do a Fibonacci retracement on this, unlike the election move, yeah, they wicked it down to the 62% retracement. So they wicked it down to the 62% retracement. Every single person who bought XRP, in the last year, took heat, got smoked, panicked. But really, all it did was go down to a simple technical level. And, I'm not trying to minimize the extent of the debacle here. But you're going to look at this on a chart in 2 years, and you're not going to know that this is what happened. Or it's going to be the most famous start to what I would call, to borrow a term from somebody who cannot be mentioned, like a generational run in crypto. Like the mother of all lows. Like, that you're about to see the biggest, longest lasting crypto rally ever, because this will be a low for the ages. Like the 87 crash. Or it's like the 87 crash, where it was like down, 25% down in one day. It went back up and retested the lows. I don't know why crypto would retest these low prints, but that seems kind of insane. And everyone panicked. Where's the Binance? There's a Binance. There's a Binance tweet about them in this. Here it is. Okay. So here's your ultimate. Binance dumping millions of dollars in ETH every minute to liquidate long. Yeah, and undoubtedly these trading desks are just standing down there taking all this inventory. Like, how do you get ready for the biggest crypto rally in human history, or one of the biggest rallies in all the financial markets in human history? Well, it's simple. It's simple. You just take a thing like this, you press it down on liquidations, and then you just completely load up your inventory, knowing full well that there's no seller left. And of course, we have Kramer saying buy crypto 2 weeks ago. That worked out fantastic. You know, again, you always have to watch out for these kind of guys, even though, you know, that was 2 weeks ago. You know, S&P did 1.5 trillion today. That's just the net change in crypto. And that makes you want to go look at total market cap. Total altcoin market cap down 10% today. 10% today. I mean, I guess this kind of blows up your chart formations. That's a little inconvenient. But I mean, again, total altcoin market cap went down to its discount zone and is now holding above equilibrium at 985 billion. So to try to put this in perspective, it's not even a day. It's the after hours move in equities is larger than all of Web3, because total 3 is crypto market cap minus Bitcoin and Ethereum. Like, how much cheaper can this get? It's like a fire sale. And not only is it a fire sale, but it's a fire sale that eliminates everyone who's long. I mean, that is the unfortunate byproduct of this. No one is long now. I don't know what a 90-minute chart looks like. Like, here's 90-minute XRP. So XRP was going lower, right? Hits the 13 bottom. And then you have this like epic, gigantic wick. And this 0 here means that's it. That's what that normally means. I mean, the lows are in unless it's the end of the world. And I don't think it is, because Besant told you last night. Like, what? You think they hit you think they didn't know about this last night? They obviously knew about this last night. So another level in Bitcoin is like 113.7. This is the 4-hour chart of Bitcoin. So there's like 112.6 and 113.7 in terms of like your navigation levels, because that's pretty much all you can do at this point. That, and see if, like, you know, market leadership like Zcash holds it together. Okay. See, you know, there's like, let me see. Let's bring the DeMark work back on ETH. Yeah, I mean, some of this stuff is kind of so extreme. Like, I don't know. I mean, you could have 2 more days of this in ETH, but you also have to remember that, you know, if ETH holds it together, you know, in candlesticks, this is called a spinning top. And I'm just sitting here trying to imagine a day where everyone looks at this spinning top formation and it's much, 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 much higher. And everyone goes, yeah, that was it. Like, if there's ever a that was it, this is the that was it. I mean, Solana, which never really went up, does the 38% retracement probably. So what's the problem in Solana other than the fact that everyone just got stopped out? Again, this is live technical analysis. I mean, we're trying to figure this out live. I mean, I can imagine, you know, you have 2 more hours of this, but if you have like a final puke in Solana just wiped out everybody. Like, it wiped out everybody who got long since August. Who's left to wipe out? Who's left to wipe out? Nobody. Absolutely nobody. Okay, let's welcome who's here and see if we have questions. I'm sure we do. Again, a much more subdued market update, but Besant told you that they're coming in. They told you that. And, whatever is going on here is over-the-counter trading desks liquidating everybody. Just like 87. I mean, 87 was instigated on rates were too high. There was a merchandise trade number with Japan, which shocked everybody. Everybody was buying Toyotas back then and not, they had a huge advantage on us over trade. And then you had algorithmic trading that my father called program trading that kicked in. And, you had algorithmic trading indiscriminately selling equities. How is this different? Now, this might be different if you hadn't had Besant say last night, we're coming in. Banks, I can imagine it's like, if a bank fails, they immediately go into receivership, and they cannot allow the Chinese to crater our system. They can't. They're not going to. And this, again, reminds me of perhaps one of the only things I got right here is that the Fed was resistant to cut rates because they wanted the ability to come in and do a monster emergency cut if they have to. And this would be such an event. This would be such an event, right? Because the Chinese communists don't care. And if the orange man backed them into a corner and they're in really bad shape, they don't care. They just don't. So, that makes the case for an alternative ecosystem when people figure out exactly how bad things are in legacy. Because, what are they going to do? They're going to take crypto down another 40%? They're going to liquidate Michael Saylor? What are they going to do? It doesn't make any sense. The whole world is going to want crypto on one day. The whole world wants Zcash right now. I don't know where that's going to close. You're going to have volatility, and that's fine. Right? But if Zcash is going to 3,000 and they give you an opportunity to buy it below 200, do we need to have a 1-hour show to discuss that? I don't think so. I'm happy to help, obviously. But, there are some components of this market that are an absolutely no-brainer. Right? 253 people watching on YouTube. Welcome to everybody. Simon says, Uncle Sugarland, let's go with the sugar helicopter. Says Simon, we appreciate the super chat, sir. Thank you. Dude, listen. The helicopter money that comes from this, they were going to do, okay, so this, let me just collect myself. So the Fed has to come in. Besant told you they're coming in because the Treasury can do QE. They can do stuff. High-powered money's going in the system, and this guarantees stimulus checks, right? If they really have to do 100% tariff on China, the orange man's going to come out and be like, yeah, okay, $2,000 for everybody under a certain income threshold. And the stimulus checks were a huge prediction of Toby, where she looked at me and I was like, what are you talking about? And she had another thing, which I haven't even gotten to yet. Like the last, psychic mic drop from the other show I was like, oh, I haven't even figured out how to do that yet. But I bet all that stuff that she was talking about just got incredibly dirt cheap. And I think all these thumbnails that you're going to see on YouTube, right? Oh my God, it's the end. I did stay calm. Oh my God, it's the end. You have to be able to think in an environment like this. Super chat request. They need to warn us next time. I would have so been at the computer 24 hours. Ave Medina says, wait or buy now. Okay. Well, I think here's how I would do this. Don't catch the falling knife. If you're a hodler, Toby is drooling over this. If you're the type of person that hodls, obviously you would start getting involved now. I can't believe crypto is going to stay down here, but there will be lingering fear about stocks into Sunday night. Okay. I think there's three buy zones. First of all, don't buy it when it's up. Buy it when it's down. Because if you have a failed rally and you chased it on the way up, that will blow you up and you'll miss it. So I would say 25% now, 25% on any fear trade Sunday night, and then 50% in the event that they do actually go back down and try to test some of these wicks. Sometimes the market likes to do that. I can't believe that would happen, but you do have to, if you have capital, you have to, you have to leave something available. Excuse me. I didn't mean to laugh, but just in case you want the incomplete bitter irony about this, I would like to welcome everybody to World Mental Health Day. It's World Mental Health Day. Let's take your entire crypto portfolio that you were going to use to get out of your day job and mark it down 30%, but happy World Mental Health Day. Now, the only way to preserve your mental health is that if you look at this as a 1987 generational low. 1987 was like a high in interest rates. I think the long bond was 10% at the time. You never saw that again, ever. Right. And then stonks, like I said, they bottomed, they went up, they did a double bottom. They did a double bottom at Christmas, just to make sure you understood how horrible everything was. And then it went up for 20 years, longer, 30 years. It just went straight up. And I don't think this is any different at all, except I don't know if you need, why do you need the double bottom? Why do you need to retest this? Who's long left to sell? Who's left to sell? What is retail really going to puke out the Bitcoin ETF? I got news for you. This is serious. Legacy on Monday is going to come in and they're going to do two things. One, they're going to go, we own too much tech stocks. We have to reallocate now. Just sell it. It's been going up nonstop. Just liquidate some of these tech stocks and buy the gold ETF, which no one has touched, and buy the Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs. That's why, how is Ethereum going to go down at equilibrium? How's that going to happen? Like the ultimate thing to buy on Monday will be the crypto ETFs. And possibly even some of the crypto treasury companies, the miners, the hedge funds. I mean, this is like, logically, you could have the first puke and everyone worry about it, but then you're going to have massive asset allocation because remember, we're only 10 days into a new quarter. And all these guys, I mean, these legacy guys, I don't even think they're going to leave the office, but they're going to be in the office tomorrow at 6 a.m. with their sleeping bags, and they're going to have to move in, and they're going to be like, okay, what are we going to do? Okay, well, we're long all this stupid FOMO AI stuff, which is fine. I mean, it's not like that trade is going away. It's not going away. The chip trade, the build out, that's fine. But that doesn't mean that the Magnificent Seven valuation, and if it's a choice between Bitcoin and the Magnificent Seven with a 20% markdown in Bitcoin, are you effing kidding me? These huge players, again, 10 days into a quarter where they normally do asset allocation, they normally go, it's called rebalance. So like, oh, okay, well, we're long too much of this. We got too much of this and not enough of that. So let's just move it around. It's completely unemotional. They're like, okay, well, you know what? The world just changed and we don't know what to do. So what do you buy when no one knows what to do? This is literally what they're asking themselves on the conference table. And some kid in the back of the room was sitting in a chair that's not at the table back against the wall is going to raise his hand and go, crypto. The Zcash ETN from Grayscale. The ETH ETF, the Bitcoin ETF, Galaxy Digital, Coinbase, especially if these stocks get wrecked on Monday. Pension funds, hedge funds, mutual funds, they're going to be standing down there. Whoops, we bought a little bit too much NVIDIA. Whoops. Little check. Market's snapping that rubber glove on, checking how much you like your stock portfolio. Little checky check. How does this money not wind up in crypto? I don't know. I mean, this is the benefit of not only the crypto, but the gold ETFs as well. Like if anything slows the ascent of crypto, like the amount of money that has to go into, like I said, if it flows into gold, it'll flow into crypto. If they allocate money to gold, they'll allocate money to crypto. They will. They have to. I mean, what is the incentive to sit around and go, yeah, you have multiple countries falling apart. Let's just keep our stock portfolio where it is. Yeah, we don't have to react to this. Dude, You have to react to this. Again, especially 10 days into a quarter. Guys in stocks may be happy. It's like, all right, well, now, we didn't do our rebalance yet. Now we'll do our rebalance. We'll do our rebalance. Right? And you don't know what the bond market's going to do, but the Fed is coming in hard. You know that. I mean, this could unwind itself very quickly if they come in and cut 50 or 100 just to calm everybody down. If anything, you're cheering for hysterics on Sunday night in equities, which is why, even though I gave you the list of stuff to look at, you don't have to do it today. You don't have to do it today, but you do have to do it. And Bitcoin is holding, what did I give you? Like 13.4 and 12.6. Now, okay, that seems to be holding up okay. And again, all these exchanges that are ripping you off, with these like Coinbase premiums for Bitcoin. I mean, my God, Bitcoin is, at 112. I mean, you realize that, I don't know, Toby wasn't at 200 anymore, but you realize everybody was at 200. ETH 10,000, the ETH super cycle. I mean, you want to know what starts the ETH super cycle? This starts the ETH super cycle, right? You can like write that down on a piece of paper and tack it onto a wall and said on October 10th, the ETH super cycle. And what was really creepy is like last night, because again, I'm old and no one remembers these things, but the top of the market in 2007, the top of the market was the 10th of the month. It was either, I think it was September 10th, or no, it was October 10th. The top of the market before the debacle in 2008 was the 10th of the month. And I was like, I was wondering about the 10th of the month. I was like, yeah, I wonder if we're going to have anything going on the 10th of the month. The generational low in crypto. And really, all you're looking at is indigestion. And all you're looking at is what happens on Sunday night. And then Monday morning, you're going to wake up and they're just going to be allocating to crypto and gold like there's absolutely no tomorrow. Okay, let's welcome who's here. Oh, and by the way, the new Zcash roadmap, which frankly, I'm not adjusting. The new Zcash roadmap, including the base case, the banana zone, and the insane upside scenario, is in Patreon Platinum. There will be a YouTube member podcast with our friendly neighborhood clairvoyant analyst tomorrow early, probably 9 a.m. Eastern. You can join for $49 and get the help of a Wall Street analyst and a clairvoyant, which you're not going to get anywhere else. So maybe you want to hit the join button and come see us tomorrow at 9 a.m. I mean, normally I have a much bigger shill. Do I need to do a much bigger shill? I had 10 altcoins that I just gave you. Those are more of the obvious big caps. We can have her look at the big caps and do our little version of Crypto Showdown, which of course is very outside the box, but our customers love it. And she's going through banter bubbles now as we speak, because there are small caps, most likely in DPIN, privacy, right? Everyone's like, well, I didn't get to buy privacy. I missed it. Okay, well, guess what, bro? You just got yourself a 38% retracement. I'm going to tell you right now, you get a 38 or a 62% retracement in a crypto with an obvious value proposition, you better act. You better act. You better do whatever it is you can to act. Or do whatever you can to not lose your mind. Don't lose your mind. That's why the thumbnail was like, stay calm. The original version of the thumbnail had it had WTF with 2 lines crossing it out. It's easier to tell people to stay calm because I don't think the WTF is going to go away. But don't think that this is not the dawn of crypto. This is absolutely the dawn of crypto. Because what the world needed was to get smacked upside the head so they could reconsider legacy valuations versus crypto. They had to figure out that the centralized system, okay, doesn't work. Now, Patrick says, or actually, yeah, okay, so one person says, I'm 90% down, and another guy who is 70% down from the start of the year. Okay. So my heart goes out to these people. I get it. Now, your best friend in this market could be your accountant. It's time to look at whatever it is you have and say, all right, do I love this? We wanted to evaluate portfolios on the way up, but there is a tax loss opportunity here, a tax loss selling opportunity to take tax losses, reallocate capital, if necessary, reallocate capital for a generational rally. But there's nothing you can say to somebody that's down 70%, except that, you know, I understand your pain and I understand you're upset and I understand it's a god-awful bear market, but think about it. Everyone talks about, you know, the cycle and crypto. People are down 90%. Like, just like you would have, like, say, in 2018. So the orange man sold his meme coin to everybody over the top in January, creating what was an obvious top, which I didn't see because I was, you know, I was kind of, you know, into the antivirus vapors at the time. People are down 90%, which means it's the end of the bear market. It's the end of winter. It's over when it's down 90%. Now, I don't think we have to do a multi-year base to have this thing come back, because the upside catalysts, they were ridiculous. They were so compelling before this happened. I'm going to have to go back and watch my own shows to say, wait a minute, there were all these compelling privacy, macro, I mean, the shutdown. I mean, there was all this stuff. Now you've completely destabilized the global financial system, which is what the orange man said. The Chinese just attacked the whole world, which means they must be backed into a horrendous corner. Like that ship must be sinking. You cannot have an economy of that size sink. Like they said the quiet part out loud. Gavin Busby is here. Welcome, sir. Tyler Hall from the Antivirus Universe. Good evening. Vanisme, a new member. Ave Medina. Right? Couldn't get in. Schiller was like, what was that? Right? Have you ever told someone to stay calm? How has that ever gone? Doesn't go that way, dude. What I was trying to do was build something that when this was over, people looked back and saw that I didn't vote for hysterics. When you tell someone to stay calm, they don't stay calm. People are upset. There's no way people are not going to be upset and mental over this. I understand what you're saying. But I wanted to be on record as saying, listen, this is actually everything you ever wanted. And of course, at the moment where you get everything you ever wanted, you don't want it anymore, right? Like I thought there was despair and depression 3 days ago. Now, like Schiller said, is anybody calm? Is anybody happy? Is anybody long? No. It's beyond the abyss. It's like a B-rated horror movie. Like it's Netflix. Beyond the abyss. Kevin C. Okay. Respectfully, I think we are going to need real mitigation strategies that aren't buy the dip or Aptos. Okay. All right. So again, mitigation strategy is tax loss selling. Mitigation strategy is lighten up on your portfolio if you feel like your positions are too big. Mitigation strategy is stop loss selling in anything that just like didn't work out. Like seriously, that's a version of stop loss selling. You know, if you have to stop out, you have to stop out. You have to do whatever you have to do to say, okay, I have to do something to preserve my sanity. And then there's the ultimate thing. If you really want to curse me off, there's the other thing that you can do, which is just log off. Now, if you're trapped and you like what you're in, log off. I mean, it might go to zero. And if you can't tolerate that, make your adjustments. But, you know, getting caught up in this, you're going to get caught up. But obsessing over it, like if it is a generational low, do you want to puke it at a generational low just because you're upset? Think about it. Ask yourself, am I stopping out? Am I doing tax loss selling? Or am I puking it out just to stop the horrible feeling? You get paid to tolerate the horrible feeling. You know, if you puke out just because you feel bad, Binance wins. Notice, you know, they pulled up Binance Coin. Remember I was talking about this 2 days ago? They ramped Binance Coin, dumped the memes over the top of your head. You think these guys are on your side? No. Think again. Think again. Okay. Laherty says it's a liquidity grab. Okay. I just sold everything. I'm done with crypto. I'll buy it back at the top. That's honest. That's honest. Diego, are we having fun yet? Okay. Quinny Direct, a member. Appreciate your business, sir. Thank you. Okay. Liquidation. Somebody make the orange man preempt his influential words with a warning or disclaimer. Schiller says, can we just panic all stream? We can. Dude, if that's what you have to do to get out of your system, you have to walk outside and like scream into a pillow as long as the neighbors aren't going to call the cops. At this point, dude, any coping strategy is a good coping strategy. Substances that alter your state of mind. That's a short-term fix. But, if you have to have a beer, you have to have a beer. If you have to have more than one beer, I understand that. But, you also have to look in the mirror and say, do I want to puke crypto at what could be a generational low? Now, there is a probability, I don't know how high it is, that this is it. They just can't take it any lower. And if they do take it any lower, it's all going to zero. And you don't need a show and you don't need a portfolio. That's it. That's it. Banana to the downside, says Spartan Officer Gian. Willimeter seems to be safe from getting wrecked. Guess who Chicken Boo, the one-person hedge fund, is quietly shopping. That's what Toby's going to say tomorrow. I know that's what she's going to say tomorrow. Charlie the Positive Cat, Crypto Path, Tussle. Limit orders got hit today. Hope it's a V-shaped crash. Most of the time, markets, stonks anyway, they make rounding tops and V bottoms. That's the history of stonks. I don't see why this could not be a V bottom when Besant already told you that they're coming in. They're coming in with high-powered everything. Right? Ned B says hello. Silas, welcome. Shateri, hello. Carthagod, I can't even pronounce it. Do you think a big player like a pension fund or a bank just blew up? Var Shock. Hey, you know what? Wow. Var Shock. Var Shock, anyone? Okay, what's a Var Shock? So when you have a move like this, risk management models can't handle it. Like risk management models are designed to tell you to love something that goes up every day like gold. That's the ultimate thing for a computer risk management model. Just up every day with no downtick. Slowly. It doesn't like volatile. Okay, so when you have this, somebody could blow up. Now, could a crypto hedge fund blow up? Possibly. Possibly. I don't know how likely that is. Everyone's going to be talking about Michael Saylor blowing up. I think they knew this was coming because they stopped Bitcoin purchases. Metaplanet too. They knew it was coming. So I don't know that they're going to blow up because I knew as soon as they said that they were going to stop buying that they were hedging. I didn't bring that up, but that seems obvious in retrospect. And then what's going to happen is banks are going to walk in on Monday and something's going to break somewhere. Could be a Japanese bank, could be an insurance company. There's a whole list of people that could blow up, including the Chinese. Anybody who's got risk exposure to China, real estate, whatever, all these banks. Yeah. I mean, they could blow up and somebody could wind up in receivership. And of course, the market would go crazy. If that would happen, that brings in the Fed and Bitcoin just goes straight up. that's my opinion. And maybe I'm going to wind up looking like the village idiot, but I'm not effing selling. I'm not selling I'm not puking at these levels unless you're accounting, unless it's like a tax loss, stop loss thing. I'm just not doing it. There's no way. I want to be on record going, yeah, this is BS. This is everything you wanted from the Satoshi white paper. God, it was everything you ever wanted 3 days ago when all these things were looming. And now the Chinese just, they just pushed the whole world economy into Thelma and Louise mode, going over, legacy is like in the convertible, going over the rails into the Grand Canyon. I'm not getting bearish into that. Can we get some strategy, please, for some of these terrible altcoins, says Kevin. Okay. Hot Mess Express thinks it's a clearance sale. Exchanges were down. I couldn't buy anything. How convenient, right? The over-the-counter desks hoovering it all up. Oh, sorry, we're closed. Okay. So again, total 3. Actually, all right, let me see if I can do this person a favor. Because most likely whatever I'm telling people is, maybe this will resonate later. Okay. Let's look at others. Others is like, I want to say it's total crypto market cap outside the top 100, maybe. So altcoins outside the bigger coins were worth $160 billion at the low. They're currently worth all of Web3, like the speculative component of Web3 is worth $255 billion. You will have individual stocks that will have market changes on Monday larger than 250 billion. I don't understand. Now, are you in the right altcoin? Okay. Only you can answer that. Like Toby can help with that. Toby can do her, clairvoyant thing to tell you whether she likes it or not. She has her own. I decode the messages in case I operate the computer and decode the messages. That's part of my role on the stream, as well as coming up with what we call a book report, where I'm going to have to plug all this into the GAN model and see what I come out with. Okay. But you have to leave room for the market to get hysterical, whether that's now or Sunday. Okay. And then act or don't act and don't lose your mind. Right. Stale Burrito says this is pre-recorded. I need the alpha, says Mojo. I'm AI generated. Dude, I am so not AI generated. I am so not. Because, dude, if I was AI generated, I wouldn't have like bags underneath my fucking eyes. Oh, excuse me, I said that. Sorry. Public stream just got hosted. Damn it. Joe Black, what's up? Right. Gavin Busby. Tenzin, Smashitosi. We got a lot of people here. Mojo, Ocho. Find out now, 7. All out powder. Dude, don't do that other kind of powder. Don't do it. Don't. Donald Masty. Why didn't USA extract rare earth during the 20-year occupation? Dude, I don't know. I don't know. Probably because it's not in the interest of, I don't know, let's call them the powers that be. Powers that be are in for a very rude awakening here if their system shakes. You're going to have a lot of people waking up. Cosmic Ninja, Polkadot, Theta, right? Suncatcher Hawaii, a member, welcome. Felix, I'm losing it. Don't lose it. Okay. We had the flush out, I hope, says Bob. Yeah, I think so. Gian, the hardest working AI agent I know. Wow, I got promoted to AI agent. Who knew? I was AI generated. Wow. I can't wait for AI generated Bill. That's how I continue to do this well into my 80s. Okay. Haven Peck says, what powder? Okay. Yeah, that's, that's why I'm trying to, I'm trying to be as controlled as I can with any hopium, because people are out of powder, and like 87, you can't discount what happens when people get emotional. But again, if the more emotional people get, the more likely it is that it's a bottom. Somebody was asking about Polkadot, which I understand wicked below $1 this morning. Boy, you want to talk about pain? Here's pain. Here's some unbelievable TA that nobody could have predicted. So here's your who knows and who cares technical analysis. So here is a giant diamond. You think it's a giant diamond bottom. And whatever happens at the apex, that's definitive. You usually get a gigantic move. So this will wind up in the textbook. There's your gigantic move with an overshoot. Who knew? Polkadot at $1. Big Rich arrives and says, what about Tao? Happy to help. I don't know, man. I mean, I'm looking at this and I'm like, you know, everything wicked into its discount zone. So they knew exactly whether it's this algorithmic program or another, you know, they all knew where the support was. They all knew. Because, you know, that's where the computers took it, right? The computers are like, let's wash it all the way down to this level. Nothing actually happened at that level, except they just washed it down to, they printed it there. They print the discount zone. And then, you know, Tau has to stay above somewhere like 250 to 285 is the zone. Why would you sell this whole thing into support? I don't know. Why would you? I mean, I understand people are upset. You don't get any more upset than this. Like I remember with 87, I didn't really understand markets at the time. I knew I wanted to do economics, but I didn't. I knew some things about markets because I would look at the chart packets that my father would bring home, and I was like, wow, this is cool. I want to do this. But when this hit the news, right, we were all sitting around in the dorm room watching this on, you know, the one guy, you know, everybody didn't have a TV in 1987 in their dorm room. If you had TV in your dorm room in 1987, you were kind of like hot stuff, right? So we're like watching around the TV and some guy's talking about the end of the world. I called my father. I was like, do I got to come home from college? Is it over? Is this it? He's like, no, that's not it. It's not that way. But he had stories. He had stories. Like everybody sold everything. So stockbrokers used to, and I did this at the futures exchange, for every order, you used to have to write a ticket. You had to write a ticket. And, you know, you'd have to take the ticket to the wire room where the guy would wire it down to a machine at the exchange. There's no internet, no texting, none of that. So the line for brokers to get to the wire room to sell everything was, you know, was outside, down the hall. Everybody standing there with a stack of tickets to sell everything. You couldn't even sell because everyone was losing their mind. Everybody except guys like, I don't know, maybe Vanguard or Vogel or Tudor sold the top, and some mutual fund guy took everything at the low, everything, and got famous. This is how you get famous. I already know what Toby's going to say tomorrow. This is how you get rich. You know, guys like, you know, guys like Buffett are not in crypto, but the Warren Buffett of crypto will figure out how to buy this low. Now, that may not be right this second because you're going to have intense indigestion, people adjusting positions. You don't have a lot of liquidity over a weekend. See, of course, they do these things to help stonks, but crypto is left in the breeze over the weekend. People don't know what to do, and now every time it's going to go up or down 5%, it's going to make people even more upset. I mean, I understand that this is impossible, but you do have to figure out, you do have to somewhat figure out how, like, you're going to manage how you feel about this. And if you have to adjust your position to, like, stay sane, then do it. That's a reason to adjust. But, you know, the idea of, like, selling crypto and quitting, unless, you know, your portfolio went down 95%, but if your portfolio went down 95%, your accountant's going to be like, liquidate it all and buy it all back. Can't believe somebody thinks I'm an AI agent. I like that. I appreciate that. Now, you know, you want to know who could be an AI agent, in theory, is Toby. Because Toby's never been wrong about anything ever, and no one knows it. No one knows it. Now, they're going to have this feature on YouTube where we're going to be able to do a stream that's half free and half behind a paywall. So you actually will get to see more of Toby. You'll just have to pay to get the good stuff. And I know you have no money, but if you have $49 and you're not spending it on, if you're not going to get a giant bottle of something, perhaps you could use that to turn in tomorrow. Again, in deep, it's a double bottom. It's a return to the discount zone. I mean, it didn't pay to buy this market at the premium zone, and it's not going to pay to sell it at the discount zone. Okay, so you have a 9 bottom on the very short-term chart of deep. See, the daily chart shows, like if there's going to be a reversal, now would be a good time. But everyone bought off this 13 and 9 bottom, and they just got completely stopped out. So what I'm trying to say is, in many ways, it could be it's so bad, it's good. What is my alternative? It's bad, sell everything. That's the market update. We'll see you in 2 years. I mean, the yen carry trade, you paid to buy it. If you bought the yen carry trade in August of 2024, if you bought that 25% drop in ETH, but after the election in January, you had printed money. How is this different? Like, the first time they thought it was the end of the world on tariffs, it wasn't the end of the world on tariffs. There's always a negotiating tactic. Besant's going to come in, and the Chinese have admitted that something terribly wrong. There's something terribly wrong over there. It's the ultimate situation for crypto. It's just not the ultimate situation for people's mentality. Okay, God only knows how long I've been on the air. Patreon has the Zcash roadmap. Thank God I was like Zcash obsessed. I think now you can get Zcash and XRP obsessed. At least that's what I'm hearing from Toby. No one's ever going to get me off Zcash. So, come bury me on that. And it's probably a good time to consume as much research as you can. We will pump out everything humanly possible. Okay. Super chat request for Solana. All right. Let's do like a Solana deep dive. Okay, 4-hour chart of Solana, not that useful. I mean, it's incredible that the daily chart of Solana, Solana went back down to its discount zone. I mean, that's just crazy. That's interesting. But by the way, you just witnessed how you actually do technical analysis, particularly with Gann charts. Speaking of that, we should probably look at the Gann chart for Bitcoin. I don't know, man. I just can't come up with a reason to get rid of Solana. If you look at a monthly chart, right? Actually, if you go over here to DeMark, it's interesting that with Solana, right? Am I sharing the screen? No, of course not. I'm not sharing the screen. Okay. So let's go back to Solana. Just lost half my audience, but okay. So let's go back. Let's go back to Solana on the daily chart. Okay. So I drew this trend line. And sometimes, like you're connecting this high and that low, and, you basically get something close to where Solana just bottomed. And it's interesting because it was like you rallied, you broke the trend line, whatever this is, and then it launched, and then it just came right back to it. I don't know what rationale is there to sell. Solana is actually sitting at equilibrium. And by the way, stability is your best friend. You know, if crypto just sat there and just kind of went up and down, but like was stable, even if it looked terrible, stability is your friend. And then what I wanted to do on the Solana monthly chart is Grandpa Keeter, a member for 12 months, was able to get in 3 trades on Coinbase before it tanked. OG Tank says it's like perfectly. Then if you go to Solana, remember 180 in Solana, how Solana could not get above 180 and stay there? It's actually holding above 180 at the moment. This was 180 from back in the day. I don't know. It may be worth it to look at ETH monthly while we're at it, because I'm just wondering about that 3,700 level. Yeah. So ETH is now back to where it was on FTX. This is where FTX started from in January of 2021. ETH is actually a little bit below it. So what we're saying is, at the dawn of everything you ever wanted, of finance, Web3, everything you ever wanted, we're going to sell ETH and dump ETH where it was back in 2022 when FTX started, when there was probably absolutely no bullish catalyst whatsoever. You had the Fed tightening, and you had a massive liquidation event in crypto. They liquidated the entire system. And ETH is at the exact same price with a list of bullish catalysts that you're tired of hearing about, but that no one is telling you about anywhere else. The only thing people are talking about is a crash, it's a depression. Oh my God. You cannot have legacy teetering in a massive way where prior to this coming in, the Treasury Secretary has to come in and say, we're coming in. We're coming in. Okay. Grandpa Keeter said it crashed while I was trying to buy SUI. Hey, hopefully your fill was okay. Okay. Today, Lotto result says, bro, it will go up again, ? Of course it's going to go up again, dude. It's a generational low. It has to be. Looks just like 87. This looks like just like every other puke. Now, again, I know I started with the flash crash from 2010. Hopefully, if there's a rally, it doesn't fail. You don't want to see a bigger failed rally. You don't want to see a multi-day rally fail badly. That's all. But I mean, that's to be determined, right? And somebody like Guess Who Chicken Boo, Zcash and XRP. So, yeah, Iron Alien says this had to be some massive player leaning on the market, and everyone thinks it's manipulation. And can I just say a few words on that? Market manipulation is like, I don't know, it's kind of like, you know, insider trading in stocks. They have it in crypto too. This is not manipulation. This is just a trading desk big players taking massive advantage. I mean, for these people, it's Christmas. Remember everybody talking about a supply shock and there's no crypto. And I was talking about that. All the cryptos off exchanges. Well, guess what, guys? They just reallocated assets. Crypto just went from smaller players to bigger players. That's all. That's what this is. And then, you know, when this goes banana zone in December, you're going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe I bought into the tariff hysteria twice. They fooled everybody in equities in April. Everybody was bearish. They were still bearish while it was making massive new highs. Now, of course, this time, you know, they may have a little bit, they may have some permanent damage over there because, you know, it was kind of bubblicious. And remember, you know what else is creepy that kind of like rings in my head? Jamie Dimon 2 days ago was talking about a stock market crash. They knew this was going to happen. They did. Like the bigger players knew. And all the more reason to believe that they leaned on crypto over a weekend. They tried to get stonks to calm down. They leaned in on crypto. And if there's a just kidding moment now, next week, you have a generational bottom. You have everyone asking themselves, well, especially in Bitcoin, which we haven't even really talked about, right? You know, Bitcoin at 112? Are you kidding me? Bitcoin at 107. I mean, they went back and they retested what was the low of the prior move. The prior moves went 108 to 124, and then they just went back to 108. They just unwound it for you and handed you like a double bottom. Okay. So I've probably been talking for quite a while. I don't want the Eagle King to Brick Dream says this is criminal. Let's go. Let's get 100 likes. Dude, let's get 200 likes. More research coming. You need research. This is when you need research, right? All these other YouTube channels, all they do is bloviate. I bloviate too, but we actually have research. Research tomorrow morning, right? Patreon, we're going to update all the roadmaps. Thank God I was like Zcash maximalist and not a complete idiot. There's also a piece in there on Solana small caps, which again, is like complete massive discount shopping. Banter bubbles in the morning, along with our altcoin showdowns. We will see you tomorrow.